The impeachment managers, or more aptly titled mismanagers, brought their carnival of hypocrisy to the Senate. It was a sobering reality after House leaders, drunk on their own power, ignored due process for the executive office, refusing to release their own documents concerning the whistleblower, and held secret meetings in the basement of the House.
Only one person in the entire Congress, 435 members, only one person knows who the whistleblower is, and more importantly, who those people supposedly had firsthand knowledge. Only Adam Schiff knows.
None of that stopped them from continuing their narrative of fantasy and desperation for anything to stick to the wall.
As one court recently explained, quote, "Presidents are not kings, and they do not have subjects whose destiny they are entitled to control. This body should not act as if the president is a king. We will see with the next vote on this question whether the members of this body want to protect the president against all investigation, against all suspicion, against any crimes, or not."
Will the president and the American people get a fair trial? Will there be a fair trial?
The president's counsel, finally allowed to bring clarity to the table, reacted to the hypocrisy and lies with truth that had been suppressed for months.
And what we just heard from Manager Schiff, courts have no role, privileges don't apply, what happened in the past, we should just ignore. In fact, Manager Schiff just said, try to summarize my colleague's defense of the president. He said, not in those words, of course, which is not the first time Mr. Schiff has put words into transcripts that did not exist. Mr. Schiff also talked about a trifecta. I'll give you a trifecta. During the proceedings that took place before the Judiciary Committee, the president was denied the right to cross-examine witnesses. The president was denied the right to access evidence. And the president was denied the right to have counsel present at hearings. That's a trifecta. A trifecta that violates the Constitution of the United States.
Witnesses were threatened. Good public servants were told that they would be held in contempt. They were told that they were obstructing. What does Mr. Schiff mean by obstructing? He means that unless you do exactly what he says, regardless of your constitutional rights, then you're obstructing. By the way, I was surprised to hear that. Did you realize you're on trial? Mr. Nadler's putting you on trial. Everybody's on trial except for them. It's ridiculous. Overwhelming evidence to impeach the President of the United States. And then they come here on the first day and they say, you know what, we need some more evidence. Now let me tell you something. If I showed up in any court in this country and I said, Judge, my case is overwhelming, but I'm not ready to go yet. I need more evidence before I can make my case. I would get thrown out in 2 seconds. And that's exactly what should happen here. That's exactly what should happen here. It's too much to listen to almost. The hypocrisy.
Adam Schiff, who seemed to be on the verge of tears, demonstrated that his victimization scam was out of its element, twisting the truth to sell his narrative to the American people who know this is the weakest, blatantly partisan and most corrupt impeachment in American history.
To coerce an ally at war with an adversary, at war with Russia, use the power of his office to withhold hundreds of millions of dollars of military aid that you appropriated and we appropriated to defend an ally and defend ourselves because it's our national security as well. And why? To fight corruption? That's nonsense, and you know it. He withheld that money, and he withheld even meeting with him in the Oval Office, the president of Ukraine, because he wanted to coerce Ukraine into these sham investigations of his opponent that he was terrified would beat him in the next election. That's what this is about.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has allowed 24 hours of debate over 3 days. The Democrats wanted more evidence brought to the Senate to continue to investigate for their sham impeachment, but the Senate continually rejected Schumer's amendments to subpoena witnesses and documents from the White House and State Department related to the Ukraine investigation. The Democrats are swimming in shark-infested waters now, and as they press forward, they may end up pulling Joe and Hunter Biden into those waters with them. Then the American people can see a true example of quid pro quo and the Democrats' sabotage of their leading presidential candidate during an election year. John Bound reporting.